Hi everyone, welcome to this session. We're going to start in a few seconds with the video of presentation of Catalyst 2030.
Catalyst 2030 started life as a WhatsApp group among social entrepreneurs, connecting to envision real transformational change. Launched at the World Economic Forum in January 2020, it's grown into a global movement accelerating change to ensure the SDGs are reached by 2030. Fueled by passion, our 550 members working in 175 countries have collectively put in an amazing 50,000 volunteer hours, touching the lives of 2 billion people. And we're driven by values, to which we hold ourselves accountable. 2020 was a busy year, co-creating 3 reports with partners and producing one of our own. Inviting high-level guests to participate in the Catalyzing Change campaign, hosting fireside chats and expert hours, which will be continuing in 2021. To celebrate our achievements, together we placed our supporters in the limelight with the first Catalyst 2030 Awards for Systemic Change. With the blessing of the Dalai Lama, we celebrated finalists and winners in the following categories: special recognition for our early supporters, individual philanthropists, donor organizations, philanthropic intermediaries, corporate organizations, bi- and multilateral organizations, and 4 regional winners in the category of national governments. And now on to Catalyzing Change Week 2021. During this social entrepreneur-led event, we bring together diverse stakeholders in over 100 sessions to showcase their systems change efforts and the best practices that can accelerate our work in pursuit of the SDGs.
So welcome everyone. I will share my screen now. So welcome to the session called European Social Economy Action Plan, the role of social entrepreneurs in reaching the SDGs. In the name of Catalyst 2030, I'd like to thank you all for participating in this webinar and of course the speakers for their time. To spend a nice hour together, we remind you to please keep your microphones muted. You will have a Q&A session at the end, so please do not hesitate to write your questions in the Q&A section in the bottom of your screen. For your information, this session is recorded and will be available afterwards, and you'll be able to respond to some polls during the session. The first one will start in a few seconds. As you have seen in the video, Catalyst 2030 is a global movement of social entrepreneurs and social innovators from all sectors who share the common goal of creating innovative, people-centric approach to attain the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Catalyst 2030 is holding its second annual Catalyzing Change Week from the 3rd to the 7th of May 2021. The movement has created several working groups, but also geographical chapters. And this is why today the Europe chapter, that you are very welcome to join, of course, is organizing this session on an important topic. Indeed, the European Union is facing a series of structural changes like climate change, digitalization, growing inequalities, and demographic change. To address them, the European Commission has developed a mix of policies based on fair, sustainable, inclusive growth with the European Green Deal at its heart. The social and economic consequences of the COVID-19 crisis have made this transition towards a resilient economy and society all the more pressing, but within the EU and at the international level, of course. In the face of this recent crisis, social economy organizations have demonstrated a remarkable ability to contribute to the strengthening and building of resilient communities and to manage major transition. The social economy encompasses a variety of businesses, organizations, and legal forms. They share the objective of systematically putting people first and producing a positive impact on local community. The social economy business model aims at reinvesting most of the profits back into the organization and or a social cause and having a participatory democratic form of governance. Social economy organizations play an important role in job creation, inclusive and sustainable growth and labor market integration, industrial development, and enable reskilling and upskilling. They operate in a large variety of economic sectors and ecosystems, including providing social services, healthcare, social housing, affordable energy, and they contribute to the resilience. Furthermore, social economy organizations usually operate at local level. They complement the public provision of social services, including care service. they have a considerable potential for creating fair development models and decent jobs outside of the EU, especially in the developing partners countries. In view of its potential to address societal challenges, it contributes to sustainable and inclusive economic growth. The EU has launched a large number of actions to support the development of social enterprise and the social economy. More recently, a number of Commission initiatives have called on the potential of social economy in general, as well as more specifically in relation to achieve a fair recovery. So, for example, the Circular Economy Action Plan, the SME strategies, the Renovation Wave, the Recovery Plan Next Generation, the Africa Strategy, the Youth Employment Support Initiative, the Action Plan on Integration and Inclusion, etc., etc. And now, of course, social economy organizations also contribute to the implementation of the European Pillar of Social Rights. Likewise, upcoming EU initiatives such as the renewed strategy on sustainable finance or the reflection on the extension of taxonomy regulation that just went out a few days ago will create new opportunities for the social economy, including in terms of access to finance as well as business and job creation. So against this backdrop, the Commission announced in its communication on a strong social Europe for just transition, an action plan for the social economy to enhance social investment and social innovation and boost the potential of social enterprise to create jobs, including those further from the labor market. So the 2021 Commission work program set the publication date of the action plan in the final quarter of 2021 this year. So now we're going to share the results of the poll. So it feels cloudy right now in Europe. So now, I'm going to share with you the work that we have done as the chapter in Europe of Catalyst 2030, because there was a call to respond to the European Commission consultation on the European Social Economy Action Plan. So thanks to the reports published by the organization, to contribution from members and partners, we would like to present the main recommendation and contribution. So first, it was the New Allies report on how government can unlock the potential of social entrepreneurs for the common goal. So we had said that governments can act in 5 areas to create supportive ecosystem that unlock the potential of system social entrepreneurs, like leverage the power of information by sharing and co-creating data, build capabilities among civil servants, which is quite interesting and important, and system social entrepreneurs to enable mutual understanding and collaboration, develop funding models that recognize the characteristics of system social entrepreneurs, promote collaboration between public sectors, organizations, and between the public, private, and social sectors, and further institutionalization by co-creating and adopting successful innovation. You can find all those reports in the Catalyst 2030 website. Another report was specifically, getting from crisis to system change in the time of COVID for leaders. So it would be interesting to have world leaders that must commit to system change. Maybe Ashoka will talk about it a little later. Social entrepreneurs should have a seat at the decision-making table. Government and other major institutions, like the European Union, should create high-level one-stop points of contact for social entrepreneurs. So Patrick will explain a little bit on their work on that. And governments, companies, philanthropists, and others must transform how they finance the ideas of social entrepreneurs, and will also have Euclid Network that can talk about those big networks at the European level. Another report that was also why social entrepreneurs are needed now more than ever. And the 5 COVID-19 response principles that we found out at Catalyst was to make the voices of social entrepreneurs and their communities heard, prepare to respond, recover, and reset. A big important word that we've heard a lot during the COVID crisis, taking the opportunity to shape a new tomorrow, collaborate across sectors and recognition of the complexity of scale of the crisis, look beyond healthcare. You have another poll right now. Given that COVID-19 touches all areas of people's life, and support the shovel-ready solution that grassroots organizations are already able to provide today. So these are the main ideas that we had in our reports, but we also had direct recommendation from Catalyst 2030 members. Everything is online because thanks to the European Commission, all contributions are public if they wanted to. So there are, dozens of social enterprise and social economy organizations which have published actually a contribution, and Catalyst 20 members have contributed to that, and we have a public recommendation paper. You can find out these words, and maybe you can directly see that funding, access, recognition, system, policies, help also were important words that came out from our collaboration, and we had a big ideation session. So now we're going to go a little bit deep further on some of the topics that we had, because we had the great opportunity to participate. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's called the Road to Manheim, because the Manheim city will have the European Social Economy Summit, and Patrick may talk about it a little bit later. It's in a few days. And because of the COVID-19, they have managed to do this digital road to Manheim, where people could have organized sessions on specific topics. And thanks to the European Commission, Catalyst 2030 has organized 2 sessions. And I'm going to have the great Valeria and Michael talk about it and their finding during those sessions that we have organized. We have the results of the poll. And so please, Valeria, Mike.
Okay, don't you want to then discuss the results of the polls, or?
Yeah, we can have a look. I just have 3 screens, so that's why.
Yes.
So what is the most important issue for the Social Economy Action Plan? So have a social entrepreneur sit at the table. I think this opportunity is really important, and it's great. Thank you again, Patrick, for being here and for listening to social entrepreneurs today. Recognition, include social economy in policies. And we're going to have a look, of course, at the response in the chat afterwards.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for this great introduction and for all the energy. And good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to start to acknowledge the leadership of the European Commission. The European Green Deal and the Recovery Package are indeed most welcome tools to allow the ecological transition and the achievement of the SDGs. There is no other country or region in the world that has a plan as advanced as the EU, as recognized by Professor Sachs, which is one of the main architects of the SDGs. I'd also like to insist on the not so secret key to reaching the objective on our roadmaps, which is that the current focus must be on enabling a successful delivery. As recognized by Ursula von der Leyen, a successful delivery of the EGD, European Green Deal, will come through using a systemic approach as a compass. And I'm sure that I can speak in the name of many of us here when I say that an efficient systemic approach requires innovation and cross-cultural, multi-stakeholder and multi-level collaboration. Something that is striking to me is the fact that systemic approaches are common language and an approach adopted by the European Commission, government, and social entrepreneurs. Thus demonstrating that government and social entrepreneurs are natural partners that have complementary capacities and shared objectives, like Sarah was mentioning earlier. To achieve this objective, to enable system change, we believe that it's key to support innovation and to enable increased collaboration between sectors. In particular, we think that there is a lot of value in facilitating and encouraging dialogues and collaboration between social entrepreneurs and government representatives and civil servants. During our session at the roadmap, we had a conversation with 3 innovators. So there was Sarah, representing the French government, but also two social entrepreneurs, Sue Riddleston from Bioregional and David Parejo from Euclid Network, who are enabling the green transition in 2 key pillars, building and energy. And here I would like to present you a few ideas and outcomes from this conversation. So as we mentioned earlier, the European Green Deal is recognized internationally as the most advanced plan to deliver on this SDG. However, we believe the crucial of the social economy and of social entrepreneurs is not mentioned in it. Therefore, we would recommend the Commission to ensure that the social economy and that social entrepreneurs are mentioned in all EU's plans to help its actors be taken more seriously and seen as valid partners by people in the working commission, in the Commission and government. Furthermore, we have discussed about the story of Sue and David, and we've seen that Sue, for example, has been able to demonstrate her model of a zero carbon living locally, and then bring up her learning at the UN level, where she collaborated with other practitioners to create the SDG Goal 12. So this has been tremendously helpful for all of us. And we believe that there is an immense potential in exploring a way for practitioners and social innovators to work together around common issues, around the issues of the European Green Deal, to help and support the Commission to deliver on the common objective. David, on his hands, has been able to help municipalities in Spain and in Portugal to deliver on the EU law on which they would have otherwise been unable to deliver. He and his organization have been able to do so by supporting the municipalities with their solution for energy sovereignty. So this is another great example of how collaboration between social entrepreneurs and government can help deliver EU's objectives. We are aware of the fact that the Commission is already helping local government and social entrepreneurs to meet at the local level via the championing of a series of events. But we'd suggest to find a way to widespread these meetings to more territories. It has not yet been taken up everywhere. And also to incentivize effective collaboration and co-implementation between social entrepreneurs and local government through maybe awards or dedicated funds. Speaking of funds, and I know that Ashoka is going to speak more about that through Federico later, but we should like to say that we all know that there will be an unprecedented amount of money available at the ground level where many social entrepreneurs are active and operating. However, as welcome as these funds are because they're really necessary, they often prove difficult to access for the social entrepreneurs and end up not fully distributed too. So as social entrepreneurs tend to be already delivering on the objective of the European Green Deal, the SDGs and so on, and have proven to deliver in a very cost-effective way, I really think that it's a pity that we can't really get our hands on the money to grow our impact. So I would like to invite the European Commission to study maybe mechanism to encourage the full distribution of the fund and make the tendering process more accessible to small organizations and also make it more outcome focused, because diverging us towards small outputs can create tension between looking for the fund and delivering on the impact. I think it would be very efficient and a credible and efficient way to speed up the delivery of the European Green Deal and the recovery package. Finally, something that was suggested by Sarah from a great understanding of how the world of civil servants and policymakers work is to create campaign showing how social entrepreneurs are effectively working towards the targets of the European Commission, of the SDGs, of the European Green Deal, train civil servants about what social entrepreneurs can do, could do, how they are efficient, and how collaborated together with them could be a way for them to meet their own objectives. That way, through this recommendation and others that you can find on our report, we think that collaboration will be enabled and we'll be able to together deliver on the European Green Deal, the recovery plan, and the green transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valeria.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Sarah. So I think many of the things, our Road to Manheim event brought up lots of rich discussions. Many of the recommendations have been shared by Sarah, by Valeria also. But a few key bits, we tried to bring together different parts of the sector. The digital generation, we brought together digital influencers that have a huge reach online and can have a cult social following, which has been very successful in commercial terms. If they back a product, if they back an initiative, it can send people to it. So why can that not be integrated more into how we run and co-create our society? A few key bits that were definitely touched on is if we are going to digitalize the way we do policy and the way we connect and the way we monitor and evaluate, then we need connectivity across all of the European member states. Is still very dispersed. And I think we touched heavily on education and training. But yes, at the heart of our institution, so young people are aware of a social economy, teachers and practitioners are aware how to bring it up into the classroom, relate it to the real world, but also in the wider ecosystem, parents, obviously civil servants, social entrepreneurs themselves, a place to co-create and weave community understanding. Education also touched on security, rights and accountability, for people to understand the channels of communication and where they should be holding people to account and where they are accountable themselves in this movement. we touched on open source data and the need to collect rich data, but the need for everyone to be able to view it as a digital catalyst for conversation and indeed policy-based conversation. Excuse me. I think we also looked at this idea, which has come up a lot, obviously, for social entrepreneurs to have a place at the table and greater funding mechanisms to support their work. But I'll finish, and I think one thing as we move forward and as Patrick and colleagues prepare to unveil this plan, it's integral for us all to understand the monitoring, evaluation and learning elements of it so that we as citizens can be accountable, and indeed as institutions, there's a collective shared responsibility. So I'll stop there, Sarah, and we can jump on into the rest of today's agenda.
Perfect. We just had a question in the chat, and I'm sure the next speaker will be able to answer. So who represents social entrepreneurs so that they can have a seat at the table? I know that the European Commission have an expert group, for example. And so Valeria, I'll leave you the floor to introduce the first speaker.
Can you hear me? Just give me 1 second. So yeah, so this is my great honor to bring to the conversation somebody who is like instrumental to all of this, because he's listening to us and to social entrepreneur. So I'm happy to welcome to the stage Patrick Klein, who calls from Brussels and is the head of the sector social economy and social entrepreneurship at the European Commission. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you very much.
Just give me a second because I have a tiny technical lag on my hands. I'll be right here. So, Patrick, I hope you're doing good. I'm actually, to be completely honest, looking for the question because I had a bit of a like, okay. So I wanted to ask you in the name of all of us, why do we need a new social economy action plan? And if maybe you could also guide us a bit around the main ideas and the calendar on how we can engage with it. And what is the European Commission doing concretely to support social entrepreneurs? And it's a very heavy word, concretely, with so many social entrepreneurs around us, but I'm sure you can share very interesting information with us right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Valeria, for first of all, for this invitation to be present today, at this event. It's always a pleasure, to be with you, to discuss with Catalyst 2030. I have seen several minutes ago that, it seems to be very cloudy, for social economy, in many parts, of Europe, of the world, where all your experts are coming from. Let's say that, really in a nutshell, the role of the Commission is to make the sun appears. So we'll try really to push hard for this. And as Sarah, you said that, at the beginning, in your introduction, that in face, and especially talking about the EU, we are facing a lot of structural changes. You mentioned, for example, that we have to deal with climate change, digital issue, digital transition, inequalities, the question of unemployment, and this is key. It is key to address them. And indeed, for several years, the European Commission has decided to set up specific policies, let's say a mix of policies, to tackle this kind of issue. And you mentioned it as well, let's say that, one of the most important, but personally speaking, is really, the European Green Deal, because the European Green Deal, really show us and lead us the way, for better. I mean, let's call that maybe a better world, because this is, by the way, what social entrepreneur wants to do. So we need really, to reflect, to discuss, and to be with different partners, to tackle the issue that I've just mentioned. On top of that, we have seen this last month the impact of the COVID-19, this is really, a big concern for us, But again, if it is a concern, an obstacle, for us, then maybe it can be, let's say, kind of accelerator to work for a resilient and a more inclusive economy. What I wanted to say really, as an introduction, is that social entrepreneurs must have their say, in order to build this new world that we want to create. Indeed, we have already worked a lot on the let's say, on social economy, on social entrepreneurship development, and on social innovation. Remember, 10 years ago, the European Commission has released what we call the Social Business Initiative, where we were paving the way for actions to be implemented at European, national, and local level. We have worked on different policy. We have worked, especially to boost social enterprises, really at the early stage. We released a communication of the Commission with clear action several years ago in 2016, which was called the Startup and the Scale Up Initiative. We are with the new Commission, with Ursula von der Leyen Commission, working on more circularity in the development of our products. We are working a lot, on skills as well, on social policy, and something that we should not forget. We want to, let's say, to push, social entrepreneurship as well, in our, let's call it, international dimension. One example, if you read again, the communication strategy on Africa, we clearly see, a role, for social entrepreneurs to act, for this continent. So why now? Why should we create now this new push, for social entrepreneurs? I would say, in few words, that we need to focus on different parts. The first one is the lack of visibility. We know that social entrepreneurs are working at different levels, but we need to build, let's say, a real ecosystem for them, a regulatory a framework, to see, the impact of social entrepreneurs, on the ground. So this is maybe, the first thing to tackle, more visibility for them. Visibility, but as well, resources. You mentioned it, the resources, maybe funding opportunity, but business support as well. For example, how to boost, investment readiness program, for social entrepreneurs really at the local area. Access to market is important. We have seen some progress, but this progress should be boosted as well. So how to boost, the availability, of public procurement, for social entrepreneur and social enterprise. The question of scaling up. How to scale up social enterprise, how to show those good practices in order to foster an inclusive and green transition. I would say that, and maybe this would be really the point that I would like to mention, is to work really on research as well, because we have seen, a lot of things going around a bit everywhere. And it's really important to work on research, and especially, research how to boost, let's say, this research and help social entrepreneurs to understand what they can do, how they can do it, and how to improve, I would say, their impact. Maybe something just to finish about digitalization. We have working, a lot on digitalization, on social enterprise. We have seen a lot of things going around, especially for young people. I will take, one example that maybe I like. This is the case of certain business models that developed, on internet, especially cooperative that are created, by young people, using, IT tool in order to develop digital inclusion, digital participation of the civil society, to act, on the local level. So this is for me what is important. This is key, this is why we are acting. But if we are acting, if we want to develop such kind of action plan, we need to consult, and we need to consult, really people that are on the ground, not only public policy officers, but as well, the stakeholders and private stakeholders. Sarah, you mentioned that we launched several weeks ago a roadmap for to prepare, this action plan. We received nearly 150 answers, which was really a good success. We are working as well with an expert group. I saw that some of the participants were saying that maybe it would be good, to have more social entrepreneurs, on board to discuss with the European Commission. We have an expert group on social economy and social enterprise, gathering more than 70 participants, public and private experts. Some are, coming from the social entrepreneurship world. We are meeting them regularly. Last year, for example, we met them 4 or 5 times. We met them, already once this year, and we want to discuss with them how we can improve, the development of our public policies, to have, an impact, for the development of social enterprise. So it's important that they have, a say and that they can sit on the table. And this is something that is important. We want to co-build. We want to co-construct, with them, public policy that we are making, so that we will be able to deliver. And the action plan is really, scheduled for November, December this year. One key element as well, again, this has been mentioned. I just want to highlight it again. This is the road to Manheim. This is something that we carried out since September last year. We'll have a big conference on the 26th and 27th of May. I invite you to be present again to discuss. What is important is that we are going to have, Manheim is currently, the city of Manheim is currently preparing with the stakeholders the Manheim Manifesto. Again, this is, a call for action, a dedicated call for action for public policy makers. This Manheim Manifesto that will be very important for us, to take care of. Because this will be a kind of summarizing, all the main ideas that has been, discussed during all these events. So a lot to do, still a lot to do, many clouds indeed, but what is important is that behind the cloud there is always a sun. So thank you for this. If you have any other question, I'm really ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I can see that. Oops. Yes. Thank you, Patrick. I can see that there are some questions in the Q&A section, so maybe you can have a look at it and directly answer in the chat. And now I will go. So yeah, we finally had a poll. Did you know what the European Commission is doing for social economy? So yes, not enough or not at all. Not enough. So this is also why we organize this session. And not at all. It's also interesting. Because that shows that this is why also we organize those type of questions, and we have Patrick as a speaker because we need to have more information on that. Of course, there are some people that knew about it, which is great as well. So you can still vote on the polls, and then I will let Mike introduce the next speaker.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Patrick. So moving on. Obviously, part of an active social economy is how we weave together the many different stakeholders that form the social economy ecosystem. And it's our great pleasure to welcome the head of policy from the Euclid Network, Veerle Klein. Veerle, thank you so much for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have you here. And please, it would be great if we could start with you sharing a little bit about the network. But how European networks like Euclid are helping social entrepreneurs to take a seat at the table, and more crucially, with the work that you're seeing, perhaps you could share with us a little bit more about how social entrepreneurs are shaping a different Europe for tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thank you so much for this introduction, and thanks, Sarah, and the rest of the organizers to invite Euclid Network to be part of this event as part of your Catalyzing Change Week. A fitting name, because catalyzing change is what we need, and it's what social enterprises are excellent at achieving. My name is Veerle Klein. I am indeed head of policy at Euclid Network. I'm talking to you from the Netherlands at the moment. And I always start out by saying that I am an absolute social enterprise lover. I have started my own social enterprise back in university, dedicated much of my time at university to study the topic of social entrepreneurship and social economy, and also had the opportunity to do a traineeship at the European Commission on the topic of social economy. So it's good to see you again, Patrick. So with a passion for social enterprise and a strong belief in international collaboration and European integration, you can imagine that I absolutely love my job. I work for the European Social Enterprise Network, also known as Euclid Network, and we are a network of networks. So our members are social enterprise intermediaries that operate from Turkey to Ireland and from Russia to Portugal and everywhere in between. The primary goal of Euclid Network is to boost the social enterprise ecosystem in Europe by connecting, sharing resources, ideas, best practices, and jointly with all our members, pushing for the recognition of social enterprise, for the visibility of social enterprise, and for an enabling regulatory environment so social enterprises can flourish. We do that alongside our peers. We work together with organizations like Ashoka. We are a proud member of Catalyst 2030. And we also work together with institutional partners. So we're a proud beneficiary of an operational grant by the European Commission's DG Employment. We are part of committees of the OECD. We take part in the United Nations Task Force on Social and Solidarity Economy, all to leverage the partnerships, the connections that we have to boost that social enterprise space. So I was asked to speak about like 7 minutes, and in those 7 minutes, I would like to, make 3 points. Firstly, I want to briefly touch upon, how social enterprises are catalyzing change and why we need them more than ever. Secondly, I want to briefly touch upon the question that you asked me, Michael, is how can we as networks support in catalyzing the voice of social entrepreneurs? And then I want to, reiterate some of the points that Sarah and Valeria and you, Mike, have made on how the EU action plan can then support social enterprises to catalyze that change. So on the first note of, how do social entrepreneurs catalyze change and why do we need them more than ever? Well, I mean, it's obvious. We as an international community committed to the SDGs, we are supposed to reach them by 2030, and we are not there yet. The current COVID-19 pandemic has definitely not made our lives easier. It has exposed fragilities that were already there in the economy, but also deepened and worsened some of the challenges that we're facing. And just to point out two challenges that keep me up at night, climate change. I mean, I can't get over the fact that even though economic activity has dropped over the past year, CO2 emissions were at a record high in 2020. And I mean, we see the consequences, more severe storms, rising seas, droughts, fires, a whole series of effects. And that's all not in the least leading to the displacement of millions of people that have lost their livelihoods because of it. And I mean, secondly, I can't believe that the rich are getting richer. The headline said the super rich increased their fortune by a quarter in 2020, while at the same time, millions have sunk back into poverty over the past year. I mean, these are some of the challenges that make me angry, and that make me want to change our system, and makes me realize that business as usual is failing us. And we're at a crucial point. We are in time, I would say. We have the opportunity with COVID-19 to reshape the way our economy works. And we need to ask ourselves the question, what future do we want? I realize that social enterprises, individual social enterprises, are not a one-stop shop solution to all the challenges that we currently face. I wish that was a magic wand and social entrepreneurs had them and can make the world a better place. I don't believe that. But what I do believe is that social enterprises have proven over the decades that there are business models that financially sound business model that do actually contribute to a more inclusive, equitable, and green economy. So even though social enterprise might not be the solution to our challenges, it definitely is a solution to our problems. And how then do social entrepreneurs catalyze this change? We're in a room full of social enterprises. I will be preaching to the choir if I'm going to tell you how you do it. It's your daily jobs. What you do is we run sustainable businesses, but when you profit, it's not just your shareholders that profit, but it's actually society that profits. So yes, we need social entrepreneurs more than ever, and social enterprises are excellent at catalyzing change. So then on the second point, why do we need networks like ours or like Catalyst 2030 or Ashoka to alleviate or catalyze the voices of social entrepreneurs? Well, just because social entrepreneurs are excellent at what they do doesn't mean that it's simple. In fact, social entrepreneurs still are sometimes feel like the system is actually working against them. This is in accessing funding. This is in specific regulatory barriers. This is in the lack of recognition by governments or the public on social entrepreneurship. And obviously also COVID-19, the past year has made things more challenging for social entrepreneurs too, as they were facing a drop in income from sales, having to freeze activities, lay off staff, and had to readapt their business models to, a more digital environment. But where traditional entrepreneurs, are part of business networks that have strong lobbies towards the government, and can influence decision making easily. Social enterprises are way too often not recognized. And we've seen through research that we did last year, we saw that when national governments were designing support packages for entrepreneurs to keep their head above water during COVID-19, social enterprises were too often forgotten because, there's no specific legal form. Are you a business? Are you an NGO? We don't understand you. And that unfortunately led to sometimes social entrepreneurs falling through the cracks and not being able to receive support. So there's definitely a need for social entrepreneurs to have a seat at the table at governments, to speak to governments, to raise their concerns, challenges, and speak to policymakers about how we can, take away some of those barriers. We as a network, what we do is, firstly, we are a place, a community. We're a place where social entrepreneurs meet. They can support each other. And it's a place where social entrepreneurs can feel like, they're not alone. We're actually part of this international movement. We support it in cross-border learning, because a policy that works in Finland might also work in Italy. So a business model that is extremely successful in England might also be useful in Bulgaria. So we support in cross-border learning. And then, through collaboration in our network, we allow for organizations to leverage the capacity and expertise of others. We need a seat at the table, but you cannot necessarily ask, not every social entrepreneur, that, runs a local coffee shop around the corner will know how EU policy processes work. In fact, I studied EU governance and still I don't know sometimes how EU policy processes work. So you need to leverage the expertise and support of others to raise your common voice. And that's one of the things that as a network we can do together. Lastly, power of the many, of course. One individual social enterprise might not get a foot into the door, but when we speak on behalf of thousands, we might actually get a seat at the table. And look, we're here talking to the European Commission, so it seems to be working. Then the last point, the third point, and that's on how then does the EU action plan, how can the EU action plan support social enterprises to catalyze change? I don't want to, I don't want to repeat what dear colleagues like Sarah, Mike, and Valeria have already mentioned. I guess I just want to say that I think that what we see is that on the one hand, there is still obviously a very, very big need for supporting the social enterprise sector specifically. And of course, visibility and recognition are a huge part of this. I also want to mention that, as Valeria did, a big thank you to the European Commission for being such a pioneer and ambassador of the sector. I mean, even just the launch of the European Commission Action Plan has already had trickle-down effects on other policy areas. On I mean, we see already that our members find their way easier to EU funding programs because social innovation, for example, is now more part of EU funding programs. So, I mean, it already has an effect, and well, I congratulate the Commission for that, and want to just recognize the need, that the importance of the European Commission taking this stance, being this ambassador of this sector, and the trickle-down effect that it will have then also on national laws and local regulatory environments. Obviously, we need more than visibility. I mean, we need to be talking about social entrepreneurs in schools and universities. We need to raise awareness among consumers about transparent supply chain. We need to build the capacity of business intermediaries. We need so much more. But I want to echo one point, and that has been mentioned already before, is on this idea of mainstreaming social enterprise. Because as I said, unfortunately, I don't think that social entrepreneurs hold a magic wand and can make all our problems go away. But I do think that they offer an example of how you can do business that can be influential in achieving systemic change. So we need to make sure that social enterprises are an example indeed for general business, and one way in which the European Commission can support or can facilitate the transition of the main business world to adapt our business model slightly is to condition funding, to condition investments from the European Commission with social and environmental requirements. So to conclude, I mean, we are, as I said, I believe we're at a crossroads. Actually, governments have last week submitted their national recovery plans to the European Commission. I mean, governments everywhere in the world are designing processes, funds, policy instruments to see how we can get the economy back running. And well, I believe, and I think all of us would believe, that social entrepreneurs, provide an example or on what that next economy should look like.
Thank you, Veerle.
Thank you.
I just added a link to the video that presents Euclid in the chat. So if you want to know more about Euclid, you can just look at the video, because we're short in time now. Valeria, can you introduce the last speaker, please?
Absolutely. Thanks, Veerle. Thanks, Sarah. I am absolutely delighted to present you Federico Mento. He's calling from Rome and is the director of Ashoka Italy, the General Secretary of Social Value Italia, and was part of the G7 Social Impact Investment Task Force in 2013. In case you don't know Ashoka, check them out. They're very important stakeholder for social entrepreneurs, very important for catalysts as they're funding members of the movements. Federico.
Thank you, Valeria.
Thank you for being here.
For the introduction.
And I would like to ask you a couple of questions, if I may. How do you think we can better support social entrepreneurs in Europe? And in particular, how can we design the relevant financial strategies and tools at the EU level to support social entrepreneurs better?
So thank you also for the question, and thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be with you. As you know, Ashoka is a global network supporting amazing social entrepreneurs all over the world to boost their impact to achieve social issues. If you would like to have more info, you can check on our website the work of Ashoka. And I guess that starting for the metaphor of weather and the perception of cloudy day, I think that we should be sincere about the achievements of the last 10 years in social enterprise fields. And if we look back to 10 years ago, we see really a big achievements in terms of new social impact funds, new financial facilities, incubators and accelerators, and new intermediaries. So I guess that the social entrepreneurs ecosystem is quite different from 10 years ago, and these achievements are part of the EU strategy for boosting social economy. Many initiatives, EASI's initiative, the European Social Fund, European Investment Fund through Social Impact Accelerator. So we have really many initiatives that EU put on the table, and through this initiative, the EU boosts the social entrepreneurs ecosystem. But I guess that there is a pivotal point that we should stress, because there is really still a big gap between the offer and demand side of capital. And I guess this is the central point that we should highlight and emphasize and stress. And why we have such differences between the offer and the demand side of capital, and why we have this big disalignment. I guess that there are many reasons of this disalignment. We have, I don't know, a lack of financial knowledge and a lack of financial expertise for social entrepreneurs. Many social entrepreneurs use their own financial resources or traditional funding to support their initiative. And I guess that there is also an issue related to investor expectation in terms of risk return, and this expectation could clash towards social entrepreneurs' mission and values. But I guess that the main point is the way of framing financial provision that in a certain way is taken by venture capital and startup ecosystem. So we start framing the supporting financial tool for social enterprises, taking these tools from another different ecosystem. And I guess it's important to understand the differences between these two ecosystems to design a very, very tailored financial system for social entrepreneurs. So if we look to traditional startups, tech startups and social entrepreneurs, we see really big differences, because for startups, the emphasis is on creating economic value, and for social enterprise, the emphasis is on creating social value. And target for startups are the exit, and the target for social entrepreneurs is inclusion. So it's quite different. And also the life cycle is quite different, because in startups the life cycle is a vertical growth, and in social entrepreneurs you have a more gradual growth. So it's really very different. And startups work on competition, and social entrepreneurs works on collaboration. And also stakeholders are different, because for a startup, stakeholders are basically shareholders or investors, and for social entrepreneurs, stakeholders are beneficiaries and communities. So if we see these differences, I guess that we should really try to reshape the financial tools and try to define a very, very specific and tailored financial tool for social entrepreneurs, and how we can really reshape the financial offer of capitals to be really to fit with the financial needs of social entrepreneurs. I guess that one approach could be the idea of shifting from single financial facilities, because basically the approach now is I have a single financial facilities and I try to match these financial facilities with financial need of social entrepreneurs. I guess that we should move from this approach to a basket approach. So to try to have like a basket of different financial tools working together, from grants to loans to guarantees, and from my perspective in Italy, guarantees are crucial for supporting the access to capital for social entrepreneurs. So it's a very useful tool for supporting financial needs of social entrepreneurs, and also more innovative equity or quasi-equity or mezzanine approach. So this is the idea of having this basket is a way of providing a very specific and very tailored financial support, and also this financial basket could support the different stage of growth of social entrepreneurs. We have now traditional social entrepreneurs that are facing new challenge, and they are trying to redefine and reshape their business model. So there needs funding for accelerating their impact and to generate new revenues and new financial models inside their traditional approach. So we should try to design a specific financial tool for this need. Also, we had early stage social entrepreneurs, and there are very few opportunities for early stage entrepreneurs that they need pre-seed or seed grants. So really, a basket approach could be more aligned with the financial needs of social entrepreneurs. Another point is
yes, Federico, can you please, because we are already ahead of time,
yes,
maybe conclude a little bit. Thank you.
Two quick points. Result-based approach to moving from outputs to outcomes and impact. Ecosystem approach, local ecosystem approach, I guess is quite good to provide capital for boosting a local ecosystem. And the last point is system change approach, that is quite complex. And for system change approach, we need to work with private sector, with philanthropic sector, to cooperate and to collaborate with different actors to face big social issues with really a tremendous amount of financial resources to fight inequalities.
Thank you very much. That was a quick conclusion. Very interesting also to have all those finance issues, I think, that are very important. I quite hope we have answered all the questions directly. Thank you. A specific thank you to Patrick, because he was answering directly in the chat. If we haven't had an answer to your question, do not hesitate to reach at us. And of course, we will be committed to ask the questions to one of the speakers and of course to Patrick if it was a question for him. So now it is time for the conclusion. Of course, we are Star Wars Day today, so we hope that for social economy, may the force will be with you. We'll just send you one last poll as well. Thank you, Madalena. So today we are a special day. How is your force after this session? So you feel motivated, you're just fine, or you still need more information? Thank you very much for following this session. Don't hesitate to join Catalyst. Madalena just wrote in the chat every information you need to discover Catalyst, become a member, have more information. And so thank you very much again to the speakers, to my co-hosts Valeria and Mike. It's a great pleasure. And to the people behind, Madalena and Yvonne, for making this session work. And we hope to see you in another Catalyst session. It's until Friday. We have also an amazing closing session at 6 p.m. on Friday. And of course, do not hesitate to join other sessions of Catalyst within future weeks and months. Thank you very much.